It's been an inspirational afternoon with many people wanting to empower and give back and create that sustainability. And I think that's what it's about. South Africa, the word we use, Ubuntu, means a lot because during this COVID-19 period, especially, we've learned how we could pull together, guide each other, and create support structures. And talking about that, we're going to be tapping into a company that's actually doing some really amazing stuff. We're going to be speaking to Pamela Padayachee, the founder of a Womans Pact, one of the largest and fastest growing social media movement in South Africa at the moment. She has a following of 200K. They're a woman-based organization that deals with the overall emancipation of women. This happens through a variety of initiatives and programs. In particular, they're very big on upskilling and, of course, creating long-term sustainable solutions that will see women rise. And I think that's absolutely amazing. A very good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon on the show.
Hi, I'm sorry I didn't get your name, but thank you for hosting us. And salams, peace and blessings to all of your listeners. I hope it's going to be an amazing engagement.
Thank you, Pamela. The name is Nafeesa Dango with the Nafeesa Dango Show on Inspired Afternoons. We're talking about all the positive stuff that people are doing out there to empower people. And it's so phenomenal to see that you've started this Women's Pact. Talk to us a little bit about your journey and what actually enticed you into getting this particular journey, should we say, going on an amazing path.
Okay, so I wanted to first start and say it's not a company, it's actually an NPO. So A Women's Pact stands for Women Producing Active Communities Together. And I've always been an activist throughout my life, whether it has been to champion the issues of young people. And now, as I find myself, it is championing the issues of women. And so about 2 years ago, we decided that the civic movement in the country was dying. And so something needed to be done to reinvigorate it in a way that stimulated active citizenry. And so we formed this organization, which was to inspire communities to take hold of problems and turn challenges into opportunities. And so that is how it was born. And as you said, we got onto the social media space about 6-7 months ago when COVID hit. It meant a lot of our community engagements and interactions were terribly limited. We couldn't do much. So we had to use social media to still highlight the plight of women, and to sort of use the space very, very innovatively and creatively. And so we were very, very overwhelmed, I think, when a lot of people just started to support our ideas, support us, and so much so that today we sit with one of the biggest followings on Facebook. It has a following of about 200,000 members.
Which is amazing. I think it's phenomenal. And I always talk about women building each other up as opposed to breaking each other down. And I think your concept is absolutely phenomenal because what it does is it creates, should we say, a united front for women to be able to upscale and create long-term sustainabilities for each other through empowerment, but also through a support structure.
Yeah. And I also think that, a lot of people are talking about empowerment. But when we talk about empowerment, it needs to be attached to practical solutions. And it needs to start within a very, very basic community level. And so that is exactly what we're doing. We're going into communities. We're trying to find out what are the issues the ordinary woman who's trying to sell her mealies on the streets is experiencing. What are the normal issues or the everyday issues that a woman who is sitting at home, who has access to no sort of employment, who has kids to take care of, what are her issues? And what practical interventions can we develop to better or to increase the standard of her life? So that, yeah.
But I think
what you say as well, and I'm totally.
No, I totally understand where you're coming from with this, and I think that's imperative because the thing is, it's having to as I was speaking to somebody on the show earlier, it's about defining the challenges that each one experiences. Because as we know, each person or each company or each conglomerate of a community will be facing a different challenge from one to the other. It's having to find what sort of impacts we can create to better their lives and help them move up that ladder to be able to, should we say, upscale the way they are living from where they are. And I think a lot of the times, and as I was saying this earlier, it's mostly the people in the townships and the rural areas that are affected the most.
Yeah, because if you have to do the maths and you have to look at the stats of the country, the majority of poor people are still located within our disenfranchised communities. The majority of people in this country, unfortunately, still live in townships. They still live in communities where they have little or no access to absolute infrastructure. Their
Mm,
ability to even live in a proper home is slim to none.
yes,
And so that, because
exactly.
it is the majority of people in this country, must be where, whenever we are developing a plan, that is where we must locate the plan. Because it happens to be the most people in the country going through those sorts of things.
And I like the idea that you brought it up, that we need to look at a plan, because just last week I also spoke to an NPO and I said to them, there was a lady doing some phenomenal things for other women, and I said we need to look at the infrastructures of these townships and communities and try and help them. Creating an environment where they have water, where they have access to sanitation, where they have access to a home. Because if you really look at their living conditions, it's absolutely appalling. They're living without any hygiene whatsoever. And as we know, during this COVID-19 period, that's one of the most important things. But yet they have absolutely no access to those types of things, which are, should we say, we'll call it those daily amenities.
I would call it the right to basic humanity. It's the first
Mm,
right that we should have as human beings living in a world where we are so called. I mean, and I will always locate this within the South African context. The South African context makes it such that we are fast developing. And you can't have
mm,
in a country where it is pretty much getting to a point where it's almost industrialized and very competitive at an international level, that you still have underdevelopment the way it is. It's a basic human right, and a lot of people, particularly women, because they suffer the triple notion of oppression, are the worst hit by all of these phenomena. So it's a basic human right
mm,
that we must be able to
mm.
fight for and do enough as
I
people living
agree
in
with you there.
society,
Most definitely.
to,
Let's talk
yeah.
about your hashtag share dignity campaigns, which you are running at the moment. I think that's important for people to understand. With young girls going to school, the situations they face, and how we can help them upscale themselves into a better situation so that they can educate themselves and then, of course, have a better life.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we started about a year ago was share dignity, and what we found was through our community interactions that a lot of young girls were dropping out of school. They were not able to attend school at a particular time of the month simply because they didn't have the basic necessities when it comes to their menstruation cycle. So what we decided to do was we thought it was something we wanted to lift, and we started to go into a community, to each community, identify these young girls. And so each month we distribute 200 dignity packs as part of share dignity, hashtag share dignity, which is made up of your basic sanitary towels. It's got your roll-ons, your
Mm,
lotions and whatnot, because all of these things also are interlinked. It's interlinked to their
mm,
inclusion and being present at school, but also to their self-esteem issues. So
true.
we believe that if we take care of the young girl while she's still at that process of conditioning her mind, we are we have a better chance of producing a woman who, when she gets to 20 or 21, will be, a productive member of her community.
Right, true. We're going to go for a quick break. Stay with us. We'll be back in a minute.
Okay, thank you. Can I charge my phone quickly?
gold investment.
Give charity without delay, for it stands in the way of calamities. For child-headed households in Bloomingdale in the Eastern Cape, the daily diet consists of white bread and a carton of cheap juice or sugar water, known locally as the poppy water diet. Make a difference to that one child or family. The Al-Fida Foundation has over the past 13 years worked on the ground and gathered the largest database in the Eastern Cape region of Muslim zakah recipients. Phone our offices at 041 484 1288 or visit our website at www.alfida.co.za. The Al-Fida Foundation, your social investment partner in the Eastern Cape.
Engaging conversations, inspirations, and more. This is the Nafeesa Dango Show on Salam Media between 2 and 4 p.m.
Welcome back, and we're in conversation with Pamela Padayachee, talking to us about a Women's Pact and creating this, should we say, support structures for one another, but also uplifting each other at the same time. Thank you. As we left, you were talking about the dignity hashtag Share Dignity campaign for these young girls, and what it is to be able to reach out to them and give them that dignity that they're looking for. Because as we know, it's such a problem. Every month without fail, they're losing out a week of education. Pamela, are you still there? Pamela?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to just try and get a hold of Pamela again. There seems to be a connection issue there. We seem to be having a little bit of a technical glitch. As we know, she's doing some phenomenal work with the young people. Let's see if we've got her back on the line again. Are we back on? I'm so sorry. We seem to be having a technical glitch there.
Yeah, it must be KZN, bad.
I don't think we have a problem with the people in KZ, and I would say it's a technical issue throughout because we're having it everywhere.
Okay. Yeah, Nafeesa, so as we were talking earlier, and we were saying that, we must be very relevant. We must look at issues that are real. And so that's why shared dignity is so important to us, because it's real, it's happening every day with every young girl. And so, it's very important for us to do that. And it's one of our main initiatives. We are hoping that it will grow. We are hoping that more people will come on board to help us make more possible. But for now, we're doing very well, and we just can be thankful for it.
I think what's very interesting about you is that you're creating the support structure, as I spoke about earlier, for women to speak about relevant issues that pertain to themselves, and bringing them together for them to understand, firstly, of course, that they're not alone in this particular situation or challenge that they're facing. And secondly, for them to maybe discuss possible solutions where they can help each other move forward. I think that's an absolutely amazing initiative because, this is what it's about. I always believe in helping each other, build each other up as opposed to breaking each other down. And this is what I think you stand for as far as the Women's Pact is concerned.
Yeah, and it's about women taking ownership of their lives again. Because somewhere along the line, we lost it and we felt like the power is with somebody else to make things happen for us. The power lies with somebody else to ensure that we have bread and milk. The power is with somebody else to ensure that our kids are fed and taken care of. And if we can't, then we are looked as failures. But if we get our mindsets correct, and if we reclaim ownership of our problems and just redirect those problems, and we know we have a community that is supporting us to make sure that we achieve and accomplish, I think that would just be brilliant for the overall women's cause.
Most definitely. What sort of success stories do you have for us? I think people are very interested in wanting to know that.
We have huge success stories. So I'll tell you a success story of last week. We met a lady, her name is Nola, and she lives in Phoenix. And what we do at our Women Pact is each week we do something called Take Hope. And Take Hope identifies 25 to about 30 families each week. We put together grocery boxes and we take these boxes to families that might need it. And as you know, each week we are meeting people that are seriously in poverty, and it saddens us. It saddens us, but it is the reality. And a few weeks ago, we met Nola. And when we met Nola, Nola was living in a one-bedroom house. It wasn't even a house. Let me not call it a house. It was a tin, which was one bedroom with 8 members of our family, all of them sleeping on the floor, not even having a bed, stove, pots, and nothing. This girl was 23 years old. We took Nola, we put her into what is called a cooperative, which we run, where we identify women. We teach them how to cook. We provide them a market to sell their meals, and they make an income. They generate an income. The success story of this is not only was Nola employed, when we put this on social media, women came together for Nola. And they came together in such a big, awesome way. Nola was able to move into her home, even though it's an outbuilding, but it's a form of proper shelter. She was able to get a bed. She was able to get a microwave, a TV, everything. I mean, even though it was secondhand stuff donated to her, it's a success story because for Nola, it represents hope in a situation where she's 23 years old. Every day was bleak for her. And just out of us interacting with her, not only was she employed and generating an income, but now she lives in dignity. So I think that's a beautiful story. And I was caught off guard because I didn't know you were going to ask me. I would have come with a big database of stories.
I'm sure there's many stories that we need to listen to, but just listening to Nola's story is, it puts you in the light of saying that this is what you're giving to people out there, is creating that hope and that dignity that they're looking for. I mean, as we know, COVID-19 has created loads of worse situations and challenges that people have been facing. What has it meant for you during this period, knowing that you can still reach out irrespective of the situation that we're facing? And have you faced the challenges as well as many other NPOs have?
Yeah, I think we faced a lot of challenges. I think every day that you're doing community work, you are out there, you are on the forefront, you are interacting with people, you are being exposed. So you're taking a terrible risk, right? Because you are there and you know that there's this virus and you can contract it anytime. But here's the thing, if I don't do it and if my team doesn't do it, who does it? So it's a risk we are prepared to take, and God blessings and we've been terribly blessed. None of us have contracted the virus. None of us has gotten ill and whatnot. But there are far too many poor people in this world for us to turn our backs on and say, during COVID, we won't go out there and do the work. We have to go out there and do the work. In fact, they are the ones most hard hit by COVID, and they still need the help the most. I mean, sanitizers, masks might be readily available to us. Some people don't even have that. So how do they protect themselves? And I think it's a huge responsibility around NPOs to make sure they carry on the work.
True, and I think water is also one of the biggest issues. If you look at the rural areas, many people don't have access to that, and I think that's a very big problem, especially during this period. So how have you been sort of assisting in that way, trying to create that differences out there?
So what we've been doing during COVID is we've been hosting each month our feeds. It's a feeding scheme, right? Basically, so we identify communities. We have been going into them. We've been able to do about 200 families each week, taking food to them. We've been able to equip people with care packs, which is made up of sanitizers and masks. Unfortunately, the water issue is within the state. I mean, that is up to the state to ensure that the infrastructure is ready to get water to people. But I think we've done pretty well, and we are continuing to do pretty well in terms of actually taking a meal to families.
I'd like to commend you on that. It's nice to see people like yourself reaching out there and of course, changing people's lives for the better and giving them that hope and dignity that they've always been looking for. We seem to have run out of time, but I want to thank you for actually shedding some light on what you're doing so that we can entice others to get involved with you. Unfortunately, we seem to have run out of time. I would have loved to tap into the GBV area of it as well, but maybe we can do that another time. Thank you so much, and we wish you nothing but the best of success going forward with your Women's Pact. And you're doing phenomenal work. Having 200K is a lot of followers. So it goes to show the type of work you're doing has a load of impact. Thank you so much, Pamela. Wishing you all the best, and do take care.
Thank you so much, Nafeesa, for hosting us. And please, all of your listeners, follow us on Facebook. It's A Woman's Pact. You can't miss it. Thank
Most
you, guys.
definitely we will do. Take care. Goodbye. That was Pamela Padayachee giving us her version of what she's doing to give dignity into the areas for those women that really need it, especially from the empowerment, sustainable point of view. We're going to go for a quick break. Stay with us. We'll be back with you in a minute.